So hi everybody and welcome to the Get More Students webinar. We do this once a month and bring in not only our host experts, Herbert and Korinne, but also bring in a guest speaker that brings some knowledge and some ideas that maybe you hadn't really thought about for your language or tutoring business. And so we've got a great lineup, got some really interesting and very practical information to share with you today. And of course, it is my absolute delight to introduce you to our guests and panelists. So I'll just share my screen very briefly to give you their little intro. So what I can tell you is that Herbert has been, we've been working and talking about marketing for language companies and tutoring companies for a long time together. And he's a digital advertising expert in his day to day. So he does this day in, day out, really understands the digital advertising space. And so he's got some great ideas to put into your business. Korinne is equally well renowned. She has a fantastic understanding of social media and content. I always learn so much from her. And today we're also joined by Vivien. Is it Tse? How do I say that last name? Sorry, I should have asked. Yeah. Oh, I was always getting the nerves when I say somebody's name
close. It's quite, because we usually read it in a Chinese way. It's Tse.
Tse.
Chinese, yeah.
Well, that's always part of language, right? Where he's got to live and learn. And you're going to learn a lot from Vivien today. I'm really excited to hear particularly about YouTube advertising, which is going to be the feature today. So I hope you learn a lot. So without further ado, I'm going to talk just very briefly about some of the trends that are happening in education. I just thought this would be helpful and make it relevant for this month. So a couple of things seem to be happening from a trend perspective. One is increasing capital into the ed tech space and into language and tutoring. Herbert and I have been talking about it. Oh, we're like, oh, wow, Lingoda raised. Oh, wow, Go Student raised 244 million. I think 1.7 billion kind of valuation. And now I just realized that Duolingo is also filed to go public, which is pretty big news for the language sector. It's a lot of money going into the sector. And in a lot of ways, it's a good thing. But also, look, a lot of us don't have deep pockets of funding as well. So it is something to be aware of. And also trying to figure out ways of finding your niche and really differentiating and defending that. And again, we've got Herbert and I have talked about this over and over again. You'll see a lot on the LearnCube YouTube channel about that if you're interested. One of the other things that was quite interesting even this week was China really choking down the tutoring sector. I don't know if anyone saw that, but shares in a lot of these massive Chinese companies. Even I haven't checked, VIP Kid I think is actually a private company, so you wouldn't see it there, but the public shares in these companies have just dropped drastically because China is really signaling, hey, it's getting a bit out of hand and we want to rein it in. And so there have been some new guidelines and that could very well be impacting those interests. I talk to companies all the time about wanting to do online tutoring or online language training, and China is often a market that they're interested in. There are some real challenges there and some real restrictions that are well outside of your control. So worth kind of just keeping an eye on the space if that remains an important area. But I also just felt like, again, from a lot of conversations with the language schools that we either work with or we're talking to, and same with tutoring. I don't know about you, Herbert, or if Korinne, anyone, notice that it seems that we've had a kind of earlier summer this year.
In terms of paid advertising and comparing the conversions and the registrations and enrollments from last year, there has definitely been a significant decrease with language school courses, say from mid-June to about now.
Just a little bit earlier than I'd expected.
Yeah, I think some of that also has to do with the fact that a lot of governments are starting to slowly pull back on the funding that's been available to schools and to the sector in general. I think everyone's sort of feeling like things are slowly getting back to normal, and therefore our industry isn't needing these, this extra funding or the help that they have been getting. And I think that could be having a little bit of an impact on schools' willingness to spend into advertising or into consultancy or just in general. Because by the same token, the number of students that people are allowed to accept is still, you know, in person is still not back to where it was. So I think everyone's just feeling a little cautious.
Yeah. Interesting. I thought I'd just pass that on because I'd had questions and people were like, is it just me? And I just felt like, actually, I don't think it's just you. I think we're noticing this across the board. I thought that'd be a helpful thing to pass on.
Yeah, today I wanted to talk a little bit about a topic that a lot of people struggle with, and that is copywriting. We know that ads can be a fantastic way of reaching out to new audiences and, you know, getting conversions or direct enrollments. But, you know, creating an ad can seem like a daunting task, and especially, you know, what do you write in an ad? So I wanted to touch on these some points and give you some strategies and tips on how to write effective ad copy. And really, you want to write copy that elicits a direct response. You know, you want to craft your words for the sole purpose of conversion, to get people to take an action. Now, a lot of brands, a lot of schools out there, you know, when they run ads, they do brand awareness ads. And I can show you an example here on the left of, you know, a general brand advertising. I mean, it looks cute, it's colorful, but it doesn't really elicit that emotional response or provoke you to take action. Whereas, say, something on the right here is much more, you know, storytelling, has a narrative that really speaks to the customer, to the potential student, and gets them, you know, to find out more. And, you know, we can use a few building blocks to help you when it comes to writing effective ad copy. And I've divided them into 4: logic and reason, emotion and feeling, credibility and ethics, and right time and right place. And you don't need to use these independently. You can, you know, combine them, all of them, or 2 or 3 of them, into your text. And I wanted to give you some examples of each of these building blocks. So the first one is logic and reason. And so you really want to use facts or numbers. Really good here. Maybe you have a proven method of, you know, improving your speaking skills within 3 weeks. Like this one on the left, they say we rely on a proven product to learn new language. Can Ali learn Spanish in 3 weeks? This is a really good way of, you know, showing quantitatively what the results and the transformation can be. On the right, this is a post by myself. I tell you how good retargeting is for language schools, and it's the secret to Facebook ad success. And then a little bit later on, I give you some facts, some statistics on why retargeting campaigns are so effective. The next one, emotion and feeling. So you really want to use storytelling here. And the best kind of stories to tell are from your students or your potential customers' perspectives. Here on the left, this ad was designed to target people interested in moving to Barcelona, or people who are already in Barcelona, expats or foreigners, also looking to improve their Spanish skills. And you'll see if you read the ad copy that we don't even mention Spanish course, or we don't even mention the school in the ad copy. We are really telling the story of this person in the photo. It's an authentic photo. It's a real student about her journey as an expat in Barcelona. And so we're really playing on those emotional ties, simulating a story that, you know, people would say, oh, that's me, that's relevant, that's exactly my situation. And so I would like to embark on that journey as well. The next one is credibility and ethics. This is where your student testimonials come into play, showing students succeeding. Like on the right, we have a photo of those students holding up their Cambridge certificates, which is fantastic proof that your language courses work. Here you can also use any credibility, such as associations, or maybe you have won awards for your programs or for your schools. And, you know, this is how to build social proof and trust with your audience. And last but not least is staying relevant. So right time, right place. is using current events, what's happening in the world right now, in your ad copy. On the right, this was an ad for a German school right at the beginning of lockdown last year. We used a very cheeky headline, Netflix and chill, or improve your German, since everyone was at home baking bread, baking sourdough, and watching their favorite next Netflix series. So we use that in there to really capture the moment, so to say. Yeah, and that continues in the ad copy. So yeah, I hope that gave you a few tips and ideas and inspiration on what to write in your ads. Yeah, I probably don't have much time. I can already see that Alex is telling me to pass on the baton. So yeah, that's it from me today.
I really thought it was a great way of sort of just breaking up that into 4 sections, and it kind of gives people some really easy ways to A/B test something, right? They could try
exactly
one or the other, and then move forward with the one that seems to work the best.
Fantastic.
Just out of curiosity, which one do you prefer, or which one do you lean to?
I mean, testimonials always work. People want to, potential students want to see the transformation other students have made. So combining that with emotions and feelings, so like a student story is usually a good combo.
Nice. And actually on that, I'm really looking forward to Korinne. This seems like Herbert, you've set the categories.
Perfect.
Now Corinne's going to follow
Herbert and I are
up
quite good at this,
ideas.
kind of without
like
even having a conversation about it. This is the second time we've managed to just slide into the other's topic. So that's really great. Okay, so I'm going to dive right in there. And this is a question that I get asked all of the time. How do I come up with good content? And, we've talked about it, well, I've talked about it before, we need to commit to having a regular content schedule. We need to, really think about posting good quality, but regular posts on all of our social media platforms. Also when we're blogging or if we're writing articles for another platform. So what do you do when you're stuck? What do you do when you're sitting there thinking, oh gosh, it's Monday and I post on Mondays and I've got nothing to say? So let's have a look-see. So one of the things, or one of the easiest things that you can do to make sure that you're not completely lost, that you're not, every week racking your brains and feeling all stressed about things, is set up what I call, or what are known as, content pillars. Now, content pillars are, they're around about 6 topics. So other industries have slightly fewer, but in international ed, also tutoring, anything to do with education, 6 is kind of about the minimum that you want to be hitting. So those are 6 topics or themes, and they're going to form the foundation of our social media content. And I'm also including blogs and anything else that you're pushing out there on the internet. Now, these 6 topics or themes should be based on what is important to our audience. And I have an example here. So if you were a language school, what might your content pillars look like? Could be your school story, so like your history or the special things that have made your school or business the way it is. Could be your school values, could be alumni or community news, curriculum highlights, student experience, news. The options are endless. It's totally up to you, and it's up to your understanding of what your audience is looking for. These topics that we've come up with, these content pillars, they're the topics that we're going to use over and over and over again. So you're not coming up with new ones each week. Some people like to sort of have a specific order. So they might say, okay, I'm going to post a school story on Monday. Tuesdays is going to be news, Wednesday student experience. It doesn't have to be like that, but it is also another way of making sure that you know what you're doing before the panic sets in. So once you've decided on your core topics or your content pillars, coming up with post ideas becomes a lot easier. Okay, so another thing that a lot of people worry about, and I worry about it too sometimes, is whether or not your content is actually good enough. Now, especially in a professional setting, you know, we want to do things properly. We want to represent ourselves and our school in the best possible way. But what you just need to practice. That's the best way to get better at coming up with content, is just give it a go. And one of the things that I do, and I still do it even now after all these years of experience, is just sit down and have a brainstorm. Not every one of your ideas is going to be a great idea, but it'll give you sort of a good feeling of what will work, what you're sort of tending towards, you know, the character or personality of your school or business that you want to portray. And it'll also give you a feel for what you can do or what you could do. So let's take a look at this slide here. This is basically just me having a very quick brainstorm. So if we were going to take the pillar of curriculum highlights, what kind of posts could we make about curriculum highlights? So these were just some very quick ideas that I came up with. So it could be new courses. It could be interesting course content. So is there an aspect of one of your courses that is particularly interesting that could be, you know, made into a interesting post? You know, tell your students what they can do with what they learn with you. So is it, you know, a job that they could then get? Is it, you know, that they feel confident using the phone in that language, you know, calling somebody up and using that language in a real everyday situation? Tell them what they can do. Another one could be meet the teachers. Now this should be sort of more curriculum or skills focused. And this is sort of, you know, why are you as a tutor, or why are your teachers the right people to be teaching this particular topic? So there's tons and tons and tons of different things that, or different types of posts that you could create to show, you know, the pillar of curriculum highlights. Similarly, I've got another sort of example for you here. So if we were to look at student experience, so a different content pillar, student experience, if we were going to post about it, we could do things like feedback, student success stories, aspects of lessons or classes, meet the teachers. But again, in this time, we're going to focus on their personality or their passion for what they're teaching. So, you know, this is about the students, this is about their experience. Activity profiles, maybe your school has a great activity program, whether it's online or offline, doesn't matter. Profile these activities. I mean, that is a really easy one. If you have, you know, 5 activities in a month, that's 5 posts done. Super easy. Day in the life. A day in the life is really great. It could be a typical day of a student, could be a teacher's day. You know, there's so many things you can do, you know, in day of the life. And then my favorite, you know, fallback safety net content option is always the Throwback Thursday, the TBT, or just the TB. Sometimes you run out of content and it's Wednesday. You can drop the T, do a throwback anyway. I wouldn't do these all the time. Like literally, these are my sort of safety net. When I'm really, really stuck, everyone likes to see a picture of me 10 years ago at my very first agent workshop, or something crazy like that. First day out of university in a suit off to my job. You know, people love this kind of thing, but don't overdo it. Also, if we were going to look at student experience from the perspective of a different, you know, piece of content, so a story. Now you can have stories on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Not everyone has the LinkedIn stories functionality just yet, but they are rolling it out, and hopefully we're all going to have it pretty soon. So stories. This is the place where you can easily reshare content from your posts. So you can, you know, pop that, share that onto your stories. But, you know, often with posts, we have captions that are quite long, and those captions cover more than just one point. So what I like to do is break that down, take that content from that one caption and make 3, maybe even 5, if it's something big and interesting, different story screens. Because stories, you've got a small amount of time and a small space to put your content, and nobody's going to read this much there. Videos, of course, aspects, behind the scenes, teachers prepping, this kind of thing, talking to camera, what can X course help your students to achieve? All these things are very, you know, a great pieces of content, easy to repeat, but still make different. And just really good ways to pad out a social media strategy. And that's it. I was very quick today. So I hope that I've given you some ideas. So I've given you some guidance and some tips on, what to do when you're feeling stuck. Yeah, good luck.
I think that's brilliant, Korinne. I always get a lot of value out of listening to those, particularly that inspiration. Like sometimes you are just stuck.
You are, yeah, absolutely. And that happens to all of us.
So we've got Vivien joining us next for YouTube paid advertising. So this is something that really got all of the panel's attention, in terms of it's an area that we're kind of all curious about. We haven't maybe experimented so much ourselves. So definitely an interesting topic while Vivien gets things organized.
So hi everyone. So today we're going to talk about YouTube ads, and thanks for Korinne for the very informative content marketing and how to create the 6 content pillars. Actually, how I see, I'm sure Herbert will agree with me. The way how paid advertising works and YouTube ads work is we're actually pushing out content to people in a way as well. It's just a channel of getting people to those places. So YouTube ads is a channel of getting people to learn about us, to know about our content. So whether it's for tutoring companies or language schools or like any kind of education providers, YouTube ads is really amazing. And I'm going to tell you why. So some problems that we face in the education industry when we're trying to get more student enrollments or more students is, the first thing, you don't have enough leads. The second thing is the leads are unqualified. So when you do the advertisements in a way that is not very optimized, not in a most efficient way, what's going to happen is a lot of people speaking to you, to your team, the inquiries that you have, they are actually, maybe they say that your programs are too expensive, they don't have the financial resources, or they don't meet the requirements that you are looking for. So these are what we call as unqualified leads. So we definitely want to reduce these. And the third thing is, maybe we've heard a lot of language schools and also tutoring companies telling us about this, is before the pandemic, the students, maybe they were coming to in-person classes, but during the pandemic, and for some countries it's sort of after the pandemic right now, they realize that they can only come to online classes, and they don't want to come to in-person classes if it's still available because they don't want to get infected. So a lot of past students are actually not returning because of that reason, and they need to look for new students. And what we usually say, how we usually classify these type of parents is, there's one type which prefers in-person classes, the other type prefers online classes, and the third type doesn't mind both of them. And that's probably the reason why for a lot of education providers, the student numbers, the past students, only half of them returned. After everything happened, only 50% of them returned. So it's so important to actually capture those people who don't mind coming in and don't mind coming to online classes. So that's why they're looking for new students right now. And the fourth thing is, there's a high cost of acquisition. I think actually for Facebook ads as well, like since February, there was the iOS update. So the cost is higher these days. And how can you also leverage other platforms to achieve omnipresence, to show that you're everywhere, and using the retargeting that I saw one of the posts that Herbert was talking about, using retargeting, leveraging these different platforms to retarget people everywhere, to create brand awareness, to show to people that you have a good reputation, at least create that kind of image that you have good reputation, and to get people to come in. So that's very, very important. So I wouldn't say that, okay, you need YouTube ads and then you don't need Facebook ad. I wouldn't say that. You need to leverage different things together. So the big question is, how do you increase your enrollments in a cost-effective way? So it's actually through YouTube ads. And I love to say YouTube ads is an underdog. So doing a quick research online, there's only a couple of education providers doing this right now. One of them is actually Purdue University. For tutoring companies, I haven't seen that a lot doing YouTube ads right now. And language schools, there's not a lot either. And I love to say that they are the underdog. It's still underutilized, mostly because it's very robust. It's quite complex in the back end on how to do this right. I'm going to tell you how to do this later. So like it's the underdog, it's severely, I would say it's underpriced as well, because not a lot of people are advertising there right now. So YouTube ads is the underdog for the education industry as well, because for the education industry, as an education provider, we want to showcase our campus, if we have any, our classrooms, our environment, even something like if you're using LearnCube as a platform, you want to showcase how the classes are like, and you want to showcase the teaching quality and all of these things. Using videos on YouTube ads or using videos in general, we can actually tell people how it's actually like, the environment, how the whole experience is. So that's why I love to say YouTube ads is the underdog. So to do YouTube ads, the cost is quite low. It's usually around $30 per lead or so. And then the second one is the videos, right? When we're using the videos, we can actually build that kind of relationships. As we all know, to turn a stranger into a lead or inquiry and turn them into an enrollment or a sign up, it requires relationship building. If you have a good relationship with people, then there's a high chance they're going to turn into enrollments. We always talk about the like, know, and trust factor. And using this, you can actually jumpstart that journey. And also for YouTube ads, you can actually target people based on the household income. Let's say top 50%, under 50%. Of course, you don't want to target the under 50%, right? Because there's a very high chance that they're not going to enroll. And that's how we improve the quality of leads that we get and the inquiries that we get. And the fourth thing is, of course, you can actually showcase who you truly are. Like I said before, it's using videos. You can actually showcase like clips of the environment and campus and teaching quality and everything like that. So to achieve that kind of omnipresence so that you can appear everywhere to people and leverage on these different platforms. So some of the pitfalls, I also know that like for Facebook ads, you can actually post videos as well. But the way to do videos for Facebook ads and YouTube ads is actually different because the intention is different. For Facebook ads, people are there to socialize. So they're there to network. So the way to do Facebook ads is different. It's more like capturing their attention. And for YouTube ads is more of an intention base. A lot of times, especially for tutoring companies and language schools, people are on YouTube to, they're curious about something or they want to learn about something. So the intention is different. So usually for YouTube ads, when we're doing the advertisements, we try to focus more on being helpful to people. For Facebook ads, it's more a little, it's not as much needed for Facebook ads. So that is like the key of actually leveraging the YouTube ads platform. So for YouTube ads, there's actually a few elements towards that. It's why I say it's quite complex, but it's also very good that it's complex because YouTube ads is actually the second largest search engine in the world after Google. And Google actually bought YouTube. And YouTube, when we're using YouTube ad, we're actually leveraging all the data that Google has. So let's say people type something on Google, and then you could actually use YouTube ads to target those people who type something on Google using that kind of database, using those analytics. So with YouTube ads, there's actually a few things. The first thing we need to nail if you do decide to do YouTube ads is the targeting. The targeting, as in one of the things we mentioned is the household income, and we've got the demographics and all the things like that. But what's very interesting is you can actually target people by the keywords that they search on Google. You can target by their intention of being interested in what you have to offer. Intention as in they can actually predict and show your ads to people who are very likely to be interested in what you have to offer, whether you're offering a class, a trial class, a webinar, or whichever. So there's like keywords and there's topics. You can actually target people by the topics that they're interested in. For example, if there are very interesting things. It's just a bit similar to it's basically Google Ads platform, but even more robust. There's more settings that you can do. So topics like people who are looking for tutoring, people who are looking for studying abroad, you can do that. You can target those topics as well. So there's different ways of targeting, and it's very interesting. And the most interesting concept we like to talk about for YouTube ads is you can actually layer on those kind of targeting. So Facebook ads, how we call that is like narrow audience, right? A bigger pool of people, and then you narrow those people down. And for YouTube ads, it's very interesting because you can actually layer on those people, let's say a certain household income, top 50%, and then layer on with the ones with a certain intention, let's say, or a topic, let's say study abroad. So you can layer on these people. It's very interesting. And so because with all these different settings, you'll need to test them out on which interest or which kind of targeting works the best. So that's the first thing about the targeting. The second thing is when we're on YouTube ads, the interesting thing is you have the YouTube video itself, the advertisement itself. When you're creating the advertisements, again, one of the most important thing is how to be helpful, how to be useful, but at the same time, get them interested in clicking on the ad to be on the landing page, to be on the web page. Right? People arrive on the web page. After they arrive on the web page, how do you capture their information? So the way how we do landing pages is how we do the web page is also different from other platforms as well, just because the intention is very different. So these are basically the two things that you have to nail in order to make YouTube ads work for you. So definitely YouTube ads is the underdog right now. And if you're interested in leveraging this, you can actually go to, I'll actually drop my email in the chat box, and then you could contact me there to learn a bit more about that. We have a webinar next week as well to talk a bit more about this because we don't have much time here. So I look forward in seeing you there.
Fantastic. Thank you, Vivien. I know that we're going to have a few follow-up questions for you for sure. I mean, I'll jump out there as well. So Vivien, first of all, really enjoyed that, and I'd kind of like to, one of the big ideas you had was this idea of intention of the video. So am I right? Firstly, the positioning of the YouTube videos, they are the ones that play automatically at the start of whatever it is that you were searching for. Is that right?
Yes. So actually, it's very interesting. For YouTube ads, there's different ways of advertising. Okay, so for example, you're watching you type into YouTube and then you want to watch a video talking about how to write IELTS essays. Right? Let's say you type that in, and one of the things is exactly what you said just now, is you can actually hijack the traffic of your competitors. I love to say that, because you can actually have your advertisement shown right before their video. Okay. So when we do that, the first 30 seconds when people watch the video, you don't have to pay anything. If they don't click on the ad, if they don't, basically, if they don't click on the ad or they skip the ad right before 30 seconds, you don't pay anything. So that is called the skippable in-stream ad. And then there's also other kinds of advertisements. For example, the non-skippable ones. Non-skippable ones is you play right in front those videos, and then you can't skip it, but you know the cost is of course higher because you get charged because you can't skip it, right? And then there's also the display advertisements, which you can show on the search results, right on top of people's search results. And then there's also advertisements which you can do on the sides as well. So there's many different ones, but the ones that like I like the most for education providers is the one that you just mentioned.
Great. I'll just have a see if anyone else has got some questions as well. If you're listening in, definitely pop in your questions, Herbert or Korinne.
Sure. I have a question for Vivien. I mean, when it comes to using videos on Facebook and Instagram, usually we keep them quite short, maximum 30, 45 seconds. That's obviously very different for YouTube. What would you recommend in terms of the video length?
The video length, definitely we need to be more than 30 seconds, especially when we want to leverage that one. Otherwise you get charged. So we like to save money a little bit. So actually you could do it at different lengths work well. We like to do it above five minutes.
Wow,
some
nice.
of them, we've seen some that work well with like 20 minutes. As well, we've seen those because we want to provide the value and then show to people how we can help them. So it's like doing a YouTube video, like when it's like posting a normal video on YouTube, and we want to capture people's attention. But a little bit different is that, like for the YouTube ads, I think one of the most important things is when we're doing that, we don't want to focus on making people watch the whole video. Our aim is to get people to click on the landing page. But a longer video doesn't really matter, but I would suggest above 5 minutes.
Nice.
I also have a question. I'll jump right in there. When we're talking about creating these videos for YouTube, how professional do they have to be? Do they have to be, do we have to spend a lot of money to like get a film crew in, or or is it just as effective to do something a bit more in-house with a decent camera?
I would say it's actually different for different businesses and depends on the audience. So what we like to do is, like, whenever we're working with education providers, we love to have a blank slate. We don't like to assume anything. So sometimes very basic videos, let's say like a talking head video, like of just one person with a white background, it could work very well. Or sometimes you might want to change your background, but you can just use your iPhone to take it. But we need to test different things. We're not sure which one would be the one that brings in most conversions, brings in the most enrollments. So other things that we like to test is, for example, like just a presentation screen. Sometimes it works well. We want to test the accent, who's talking behind that. That's another thing we want to test. Presentations are really great because you don't need equipment, basically. Just record it on your computer. And then there's also ones that, of course, we do the more professional ones as well. But I would suggest that for education providers, if they want to start testing things out, especially when they are quite, they want to show that kind of reputation that they have, definitely maybe asking a friend to have like a good quality camera. Doesn't have to be very, very professional, just has to be a good quality camera with good imaging, good videos, right? Doesn't have to be very professional. We can do that as well. And then the other thing is the presentation, because you don't need much of the other equipment. So we definitely need to test out different things. Especially when students are of different age groups, that's also another thing to consider. If you're a language school that focuses more on older students, then maybe they want presentations more. But if you're focusing on younger students and then you want to focus on like their parents, then you want to use like a different type of things. So definitely I would say testing is the way to go.
That's great. Vivien, I was also sort of wondering, again, going back to that intention, if you're looking at search terms, right? Let's say it was support with math, right? because those people that are looking for support with math for my, I don't know, 8-year-old, they might be looking for tutoring services as an example. How close do you want to get your video to match the intention? Because it would drive me, it already drives me insane when I have to watch a YouTube video ad just before the thing that I'm wanting to see. It's like so out of it. I'm wanting to watch the Olympics, and then something else pops in and I'm like, get out of the way. It's like I'm hovering, just waiting to be able to get through that. What's your suggestion there?
There's a couple of things we can do when we're doing YouTube ads. The first thing, we can actually exclude certain placements. Let's say we can exclude people who are watching Olympics. And then when you're optimizing, there's actually a report showing people where these ads have been shown on. So let's say if you type in support in math, what's going to happen, sometimes it might reach videos about the Olympics. And then what's going to happen, you can actually see the report and see which of these placements get your ads a lot. And you can actually exclude those placements so that they stop showing to them. So that's how to optimize it. And how close should the keywords be? There's different types of keywords for YouTube ads. There's the one support in math. It is more, I would say, quite long tail. There's also longer keywords. Let's say 3 to 5, above 3 words. I would say a longer tail keyword. But there's also shorter keywords. Let's say 1 word or 2 words. Let's say tutoring. That would be a very more general, broader keywords. So when we're doing YouTube ads, we want to have a mixture of these different keywords. So we cannot control where YouTube ads will show the videos. If you use the keyword setting, we cannot control where YouTube ads will show them. They will try to show the advertisements to the people who are most likely to be interested in your keyword, but you cannot control which placements, we call them placements, which videos they show to. However, if you do want to show exactly to only to those people watching to that certain video, you can actually do something called a placement targeting. So what you can do is actually you can go on YouTube, and there's some other tools as well. You can actually go on YouTube and let's say, I only want to show my video to some videos that are related to support in math. So you type into YouTube, let's say support in math, and then there's a list of videos about support in math. And you see one video that talks about math tutoring, how to deal with trigonometry. And you want to pop your ad into there. You take that link, you pop it into YouTube ads, the YouTube ads dashboard, and that's how you can actually push your ads to that video, exactly to that video.
Vivien, actually, also, what would you recommend in terms of a budget to start with to get meaningful feedback? And also maybe some tips about how to start without getting super diluted with your messaging or your testing.
What do you mean by super diluted?
Well, if you try and put in $20, trying to run 3 experiments is not going to be a very good trade. So yeah, the more money you have, the more experiments you can run and get meaningful data. Like you can't make a judgment on whether 10 people saw it and 1 person clicked. You're going to need a certain level where you'll feel more comfortable.
Yes. So how we do it, I think for YouTube ads, the most important thing is actually the video itself. It couldn't be too bad. If it's too bad, it doesn't work in the education industry. I know it works well for other industries, but it doesn't work very well for the education industry. So it has to be quite decent. Let's say having a friend using a camera or even a presentation style. So to start easily, I would actually start with doing a presentation style first, just to test that out. But because you don't have to do the makeup and everything like that, right? And it's easy to get started. And business owners and teachers present every single day. So it's something that they're very comfortable with. And definitely to start with that, I would take two videos. something that focuses more on helping those people, something that relates to the keyword, let's say support in math, that video would be related to support in math. And then to actually test out, we would do one campaign and then one advertising campaign with 2 of those advertisements, one audience. And then you start with roughly $15 a day just to test out. I love to start slow because we don't want to waste money. And afterwards, when we test out what works, what audience, we need to test out what ad works, what video ad works, and what targeting works. So these are the 2 things that we need to test. So let's say one ad campaign, one audience, 2 advertisements, $15. And if you want to do additional testing, then you can create different campaigns with different audience, but the same 2 ad videos.
Got it.
Yeah.
No, those are some really great tips there, Vivien. I've really enjoyed today, and it's got my mind whirling a little bit on YouTube advertising. Maybe as well for you, Herbert, who
Yes,
is definitely more in the advertising space, might like to have a play.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today on the Get More Students webinar. It's always a total pleasure. Thank you, special thanks for Vivien for sharing your knowledge around YouTube. And make sure that you also let us know if you're interested. First of all, give us your feedback. You can email me at info@learncube.com. Otherwise, you can also contact any of us if you want to give us personal feedback. But either way, we want to make these events as exciting and as relevant as we can for you. So get in touch, but particularly sign up as well for the next Get More Students webinar. I'll be sending out some follow-up emails just to let you know, and ideally we'll have a recording of this for you. But thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Herbert at herbertgerzer.com. Thank you, Korinne. You're also going to find her at KorinneAlgie.com, and also Vivien, of course. Now, Vivien is the best place to catch you on your email, vivien.tse@ygscholars.com.
Yes, that would be the best way to contact me.
Fantastic. Thanks again, and see you next time.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.